Hello, and welcome to another episode of the M42 Adventures Podcast. I am your host, Rick Trimmer, and today we have a cool one. I'm excited about this one. I actually had Lydia on, which you guys listened to last week, and Lydia is one of this guy's students. So his name is Sensei Teague Vanderbeek. I've met him a little bit, but not had a lot of interaction with him. He is actually a mentor in our community. Ricky, my right-hand guy, brought him on as a mentor in the Genesis, our online community, where he's going to be mentoring people on all things self-defense. And so I've had a little bit of interaction there, but just talking to Lydia and the impact he's had on her life and on Ricky's life as a sensei and mentor, I'm excited to have this conversation. I cannot wait. So again, Sensei Teague and Achieve Martial Arts, that is his dojo here in Southern Utah. And we're going to jump into this conversation. So what's up, man? How we doing?
Oh, not a whole lot. I'm doing good. How about you?
Good. I'm ready. Are you ready for, this will come out in a few weeks, but I'm still going to talk like today because tomorrow's Thanksgiving, right? So
is it? Oh, yeah, it's Wednesday. Hi, yeah, tomorrow is Thanksgiving.
Yep,
That's
the holiday
right.
is upon us. So, but yeah, you never know how these are actually going to come out for people's schedule. But yeah, man, I'm excited to have you here. So we have Sensei Teague Vanderbeek.
Yes.
Right? And with Achieve Martial Arts is your do you call it a dojo?
Yeah.
Studio,
dojo, gym, training facility, whatever you want to call it. I really don't care. I'm not super picky.
Okay.
You're there to show up. You're there to learn. You're there to be polite, respectful, contribute positively towards classes instead of negatively. Absolutely. And I don't care what you call it.
I love it. That's how I would be. So. Yeah, man, I'm excited to have you on. It's been actually a pretty cool day. We talked a little bit about this before we started recording, but I had Lydia and Mark on this morning, and she's a student of yours, right? And she's been going there since you opened. She said 2 years you've been open?
Just about, yeah. She joined the second month I was open.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it was cool, man. It was a really cool conversation. Obviously, it's a girl, 13 years old, which is, not what you'd normally think of somebody so young and somebody, a female, right? For the general, you just think of fighting. And maybe that's wrong. But that's how I, see it as far as
fair enough
fighting. And, but she's amazing, man. It was cool. It's cool to see that, that is just the way it is. It's normal. Kids are getting into it younger, women, and it sounds like it's just, for me, I've never done any of these types of things, but it seems like it's just, and I know with UFC, it's gotten crazy, but it's very, very popular.
Yeah, it is. Well, especially because a lot of regular, and when I say regular, I mean like weight room gyms, what's the one that's just
Summit
up the street? Summit or Vasa.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of those will at some point implement like some version of a cardio kickboxing class or something like that, or at least in my hometown, a lot of them did. And it's not necessarily of the point of, oh yes, we're teaching them, kickboxing in that gym, but they're just getting exposed to it way more across all different walks of life. And especially now with social media, things take off like wildfire that you wouldn't even, assume would take off like wildfire. And so people are just getting a lot more exposure to everything now.
Yeah, and that's actually a good point, because I know my wife, she's done lots of kickboxing, yoga, and like you said, it is gone like very mainstream, and it's she's not, I know she's not thinking of it as fighting. She's thinking of, or self-defense. She's thinking of it as exercise, as moving my body in a fun, cool, new way. And so, so you are, so we talked about this, you're from California, originally.
Yeah.
And you started, so those listening, we have obviously the online community of M42 Adventures, which is the Genesis, and you are just your latest mentor to sign up.
Yes.
And teach in there. And you just did your first Zoom.
Yeah.
And you said you started when you were 6.
5.
Five.
Yeah, it was my Christmas present when I was 5 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, that is, and I loved that you said, and this I'm never going to forget this now, but you said your parents kind of said that, hey, self-defense is just like learning to swim. It is it's a
Non-negotiable
skill.
Yeah.
I love that. I've never looked at it that way. You know, you think of it as an extra skill, but it should very much be to defend yourself.
Yeah.
Or your family or your loved ones should be it should be like swimming.
Yeah. And to expand on that, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but just to like have a clear like layout.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that some going and getting a black belt in any martial art should be tied into swimming. It should be, you should have at least taken a year to 2 years minimum and have experience working on a body, right? Like at the beginner stages, it's fine if they don't have you touching anyone because you're still learning control and, you know, they want everyone to be able to practice safely. Cool, fair game, right? But at some point, you should be making contact with a body that's not a literal body-shaped punching bag so that you understand what you're doing and how it affects a human body that has its own free will and how it affects your body. And like you should have at least a year of experience of that. And then if it's really not your cup of tea, yeah, okay, it's not your cup of tea, but at least you have
the basics,
the absolute basics. You have the fundamentals, you have the understanding, and it will stay with you. Like, you don't need to go and be an Olympic level competitor, right? You don't just, if you can swim out of a riptide and make it to shore, you're not dead. Yay. That's the goal. Right. Same concept with self-defense and martial arts is, if I go and pay some guy that works with you $5 and say, hey, go punch Rick in the face, how confident are you that you're not getting punched in the face? If the answer is not very for $5, not very, right? But if I go, hey, here's $500, go punch Rick in the face, they're going to be a little more committed. But you know, that's a good measure.
I love it. Yeah, and like you said, I completely agree with. I've never been in a fight. Never.
I don't recommend it.
Right. Yeah. Try to avoid it. I tell my boys, you know, it's like I've just grown up where I don't need to prove myself. I don't need to, you know, if I can get out of it, I'm not looking for a fight. And so me and Ricky were at a men's experience, men's, I don't know what you call it, but experience here in Southern Utah. There's 20 men. And we had a gentleman, Kip Sorensen, who's been on the podcast, and he is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And he taught a class at a gym here. He's from out of town, but they rented a gym. I don't even know. What was the gym? Do you remember the place? Ace? So we went in there, and they had just rented the building. And we sparred. We did jiu-jitsu, and I've never done anything like that. And, man, you're exactly right. It was very eye-opening to have – me and Ricky were partners. And I'm, you know, what do you weigh, Ricky? 200?
At that time, I was 180.
180, and I'm 240 probably then. So we're 60 pounds difference. I got 5 or 6 inches on you. And I thought, oh, I'm going to manhandle him, you know? And he whooped my butt. And it was very uncomfortable, very emasculating, and very eye-opening that I need to work on that, you know, because... and like you said, I don't think people realize, if you haven't been out there where you have had a person, man or woman, hold you down and control you against your will, you learn a lot about yourself in that, you know, hour of trying to process. It's just a weird experience. And I think everybody should go through that.
Sorry, the hour is how long you were doing the experience thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes more sense. I was like...
Yeah. It was an hour experience, and he just was manipulating me against my will. And it was like, whoa, this is the two things I got from it are, one, I need to do more of this and learn. And two, how technique is, you know, watching Kip, right. And he could like flip your body over, or he's he's trying to, it was jujitsu. So he's, you know, you're trying to do something and he knows what you're trying to do. So he baits you and then he switches it up on you and gets your arm or leg or something. And it's like, it is a chess game.
Not only that, but remember when he was doing a demonstration with Ryan and he was just barely putting him in the choke and then he was going out. We thought Ryan was messing around. And
and he passed him out.
Like, knocked him out.
Yeah, just from having the right, because he says everybody thinks you're choked like here or something and it's on the side.
No, you want the blood choke. So the other problem with being an experienced martial artist is if you windpipe choke them and they suffer, you know, health damage, you are on the line for that. But you can blood choke people. Not that it's good to do this,
right?
But you know, theoretically, you can blood choke someone multiple times a day, and as long as they're not out for an extended period of time, they'll be more or less fine. And I say more or less very specifically because different people handle that different ways, right? But if you windpipe choke someone and there's lasting damage, it genuinely is bad.
He talked about that. He said, remember, he says, don't bruise anybody's windpipe. Don't. Nope. And like you said in the beginning of this, you know, you need to, like how you said, for the first little while,
you have to understand what you're doing to
be
a body.
alone because
so that you don't hurt people. Yes.
Yeah. Kip kept saying, you know, one of the most dangerous things with these type of environments where you have 20 men, some of them have rolled or whatever a lot, and some of them haven't. Is the ones that haven't are usually more dangerous because they're
they're spastic and they don't know what they're doing. Well,
trying to hurt you.
Yeah. They don't know what they're doing and they don't know what they should be doing. So they're going to do anything and everything that they can to either get themselves to what they think is a better spot or get out of a bad spot.
Right. Yeah, he looks around.
Don't mind me.
Okay.
He'll crawl around here a lot.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure that wasn't something I was doing.
No, I'm just making sure the cameras are recording.
Yeah, if you see me doing that, I'm just verifying.
Is this one on, Ricky, the big one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't see the red on it. Is it? Okay. Yeah, so anyway, I just think it's, so you're 5 years old, you get it as a Christmas present, and you're hooked.
Yeah.
It hooked you right out of the gate. You just loved it.
Yeah, it was fun.
5 is so young. That is, I have a little boy who just turned 4, and it's like, man, that is so impressive. That
I mean, I'd say 5 and around 10 are the two best ages to start, because if you get the 5-year-old in and they're either the younger sibling of an older student or they have it explained to them that this is a skill like swimming, like tying your shoes, like riding a bike, like, you know, brushing your teeth, that who's that? Was it McCall that said that earlier on the Zoom? I think.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, right. Like brushing your teeth. If you explain to a 5-year-old that this is a non-negotiable skill, that you're going to learn. You're going to learn this. It's not going to be your favorite thing every time you're here. It's not going to be, you know,
it's not fun time.
It's not going to be your fun time every time, right? The 5-year-old that understands that, because every 5-year-old is different, right? But the 5-year-old that understands that is going to be able to mature in the sense of martial arts a bit more quickly, and they'll pick up the fundamentals faster. I have
kind of like an old dog, like a new dog, right? Old dog doesn't learn new tricks. I mean, they don't really have any bad habits. You're saying, right?
Yes, yeah. They don't.
They're fresh page.
Yeah, unless they're just really jonesing for it, and then it's like, okay, you need to teach them. We need to take a step back. Like, yeah, sure, you can run around, spin, jump, all whatever you want at home. Just don't die jumping off the couch. But here, physics is a thing. Physics is real.
Yeah, right.
So is physiology.
Right.
And as cool as that thing you saw on TV was, you will die. You take a flying cartwheel off the couch and you don't go over far enough, your neck is going. I don't care what you saw on TV.
That's what Lydia said, right? Lydia says it's not a Bruce Lee movie.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
It's
Because the kicker is some people see movies that make it look really, really good, right? And that is the point of a movie. Like if you want to get into it because you saw a movie, that movie did its job, but you're not getting into what you're doing in the movie. If you want to do that, what they're doing in the movie, go to stunt school.
Right.
Go to stunt school, go to special effects, because that by and large, that's what the movie is using for a lot of that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I like that. So you were training in California. So this is a big question I have. How do you, and I talked to Lydia about this and she gave me her answer. I want yours, but how do you decide? Because she was saying there's hundreds of types of karate and you know, that's just every province in Japan and China have all that.
So like picking a school or picking a martial art?
Well, both. Yeah, let's talk about both.
Okay.
But first, how do you pick like whether you want to do jujitsu or you know, is it kind of on the individual?
So partially. So there's a lot of things that go into it. So one of them is body type, of if you are reasonably healthy, right? So like if you look down, you can see your knees, right? If you're reasonably healthy and you're like mentally aware of your body shape and body type, right? There's a lot of different things that you can look at. So for example, people that are runners that, you know, they're like 6'2", they weigh 130 pounds soaking wet. They're going to have a way easier time getting into something more kickboxing oriented, whether it's traditional kickboxing, whether it's Muay Thai, whether it's some combo of the two, because it's, well, not that jiu-jitsu isn't cardio based, but it's stand-up striking, and it's like running a marathon where you're moving at speed more or less the entire time. And if you are a big runner, it's going to be way easier for you to do that because your brain is used to being upright and moving a lot, and you have the body for it. If you're shorter, let's say like 5'7", right? And even if you're like still in decent shape, if you've got fairly broad shoulders, right, grappling is going to be way more your speed, whether that's wrestling, whether that's judo, whether that's Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Like there's more grappling arts, but those are like the big ones, right?
That's interesting.
It's going to be easier for you, right? The other thing is what tickles the brain. So for me, the physiology and what you can do to the other person is what tickles my brain. So I like all of them because some principles are unilateral across many different martial arts. And so it's, okay, we're using the same principle. How else can we use it? Part of it as well can be, you know, what are your friends into? Because it's way more fun to do it with people that you know and enjoy spending time with than it is to go by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good answer. Those are all things that I never thought of. I just thought of, do I want to box? Do I want to kick? Do I want to roll around on the ground? And it's like, wow, that's very accurate on, you know, because like you said, I always think of sumo, right? You know, sumo body types, right? They're big dudes.
Yeah.
So if you took a tiny, skinny guy, it's going to be hard for them to be sumo. I guess that translates into all of them.
Kind of. There's been a couple of skinnier sumo wrestlers. The sumo wrestlers I would akin more to like strongmen. Like if you've seen Brian Shaw, Eddie Hall. I want to say his last name is Best, Nick Best. That's probably wrong, but like those guys, they look bigger. but they can move and they're strong. And sumo's a lot like that.
Okay.
But yeah, it is trickier for a smaller person.
Right. Yeah, I just never thought about, looking at, I mean, it just kind of makes me understand it better to where I look at that and I can see that there's a definite physical advantage for some in that genre.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it as kickboxing in those individual ones. So
yeah, I mean, think about it like this also, right? For basketball, you want the guy that's well over 6 feet, right? Versus, the guy that's a little shorter, go make him a horse jockey or, maybe have him be, I don't know, what's the guy that...
Point guard or something, yeah.
Point guard, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not. I should play basketball. I'm taller, but I don't. But yeah, not a center, right? Not the guy rebounding.
Right? Or have him go be the libero on the volleyball court. Have the shorter guy go do that. Right? Whereas, the tall guy usually want him, doing something that's a little bit more favorable to tall people. Now, again... body type taken into account, if you look at a bunch of Muay Thai fighters, most of them are wiry because it's high intensity cardio. And so even though they're not tall, right, they're very slim, but boy, are they strong, right? But they're slim. You're not going to see too many of them that have drastic differences between their shoulders and their hips. Right, they're going to be a little bit more linear, but they'll still do just fine.
That's interesting. Yeah, I never thought about that. And then I like the other one you said as far as community. Yeah, that's what we're trying to do here at M42, right? Is get people to try new things. And I like that. So if somebody out there listening, if you're thinking about getting into any kind of self-defense,
look at your body.
Look at your body type. Be honest with yourself.
Yeah. Because it will help you find something that's easier to start with. And from there, you can always branch out. Yeah. Like any studio that's like, well, you train this only and don't you ever go. That's a cult. Go away.
Yeah. Red flag.
For my students, I tell them, I go, here's the thing. If you want genuine, specifically one type of instruction, because I will bundle it all together. If you want just one type of instruction, go for it. I'm not going to stop you. It will make you a better martial artist. And if, I end up losing a student for it, okay, fine, I lose a student for it, but they're happy. I played a role in their martial arts journey, and whether or not they come back or not, I mean, yeah, oh, yay, I would love for everyone to come back every single time because then, I'm making a bunch of money. But if I have helped better them as a person, give them something to think about, and then they use that to go and better themselves further, that's a win.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why, Ricky and Lydia both raved about you in the last podcast, is because you're one of the unique people. There's not a lot of and I'll say us because I'm there with you, where we're building businesses that are our passion. Yeah. I want to be here talking to you. M42 is a passion of mine. I did the construction back in the day. It was a means to an end. It made money, and now I can actually. And you just did that way sooner, right? You were 24 when you started this. Was that right? So Lydia said. And so the fact that you're doing something...
She can do math. I'm proud of her. It's a running joke with the students of, we can do math today because, sometimes they're fried after school, or sometimes, they're just exhausted because they were up till 3 a.m. doing homework or whatever. And so it's like, can we, count to 20 today? Yay.
Yeah.
Sorry, internal monologue came out.
Yeah, so it was cool because it's like, that's what I think is your success. And whether it's necessarily completely financial or not, I don't know your finances, but I think your finances will be tied to that long term. You're 2 years old, that's a baby in business terms, but I think if you have that mentality of I'm helping people, it will come back. Yeah. It's not about the money,
No, I'm at the point right now where if I'm not making a ton of large business expenses to try and further the business. If I don't touch it and I leave it alone, the business is not losing money. It's been not quite 2 years. So
That's
I'm
amazing.
going to call that a win.
That is a win. Statistically,
like,
that is a win.
Yeah, I told my wife, I was like, here's the thing is I'm going to do one last big push with the Black Friday ad, one for one for kids, one for adults. And then after that, I'm just going to take my foot off the gas for December. Everyone that comes through the door from the November ad, like I just want to enjoy the last holiday in peace.
Right.
And then we can go
Start
crazy in the new year. But yeah,
yeah, man, running your own business, that's a whole nother conversation. And I can talk about that forever. This is my 13th business, M42.
Nice.
So I am a serial entrepreneur. I love it. I love the game. I love the challenges, but it's very difficult. So I respect and I admire you.
Thank you
for doing that. You know, one thing I talk about a lot with M42 Adventures, especially because we're trying, and what you're doing, you're trying to better people's lives.
Yeah,
you genuinely are. It's, you know, when I put cabinets into a house with my construction company or flooring. That's nice. You know, it makes their house nicer or whatever, but it's not going to change their lives really.
No.
Self-defense, coming out on some of these experiences that we're doing, you know, we are trying to change people's lives. And I think that should be commended. You know, I think if more people were like us, where you're out there trying to build businesses that not only, you know, fulfill your financial needs and your family needs, but you're also giving back and helping people. I love it. I'm a fan.
Yeah. Sorry, my brain looped back.
Okay.
To the second question, because we got a little tangential there.
Yeah.
How you go about picking a school. So one of the things, so aside from, you know, being honest with yourself, having a conversation of, okay, what is my body type? Even if you're, you know, not necessarily in amazing shape, like what is your body type? Like that will give you a potentially easier choice of what to start with. In terms of picking a school, well, actually, before we do that, so that's for picking a type of martial art, whether it's striking or grappling. From there, you can go a little bit more specific and do your own research on what is more interesting to you. And that you can talk for like 3 days about, so I'm not going to. I'm just to say, like, there are the two terms that you should look into and try to have an understanding of before you go looking at a school is striking and grappling. So striking, self-explanatory, is punches, kicks, knees, elbows. If you're doing Lethwei, there's headbutts, right? I personally try to discourage headbutts. They are high risk, high reward. But if you're doing them poorly, you can get really hurt really fast. So they are out there, right? But so striking, punching, kicking, knees, elbows, fairly straightforward. Grappling is more akin to wrestling. And the reason why I say wrestling is it's probably the most common household term. Understood. Because, like, you know, you have kids. You were wrestling with them when they were younger.
Yes.
Right? Grappling includes wrestling. So it's holding on and manipulating the other person without striking, usually to the point of either choking or breaking bones. That's grappling. So in that, you have a whole other realm of possibilities. Both are great, right? But those are the two that you should look into, is striking and grappling. From there, when it goes to choosing a school, look at a few things. First one, is the training area clean? right? Because if you show up right after a kids class, I can guarantee you pretty much anyone's lobby is going to be a little messy, right? It's time of day, If you walk in right after the last class and I'm finished cleaning, it's going to be spotless across the dojo, right? Across not just the training area, but the entire unit that I'm in. If you walk in right after the kids class, there's 3 of them still in the lobby.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But look at the training area, because after each class, I do a quick wipe down of the training area just so that it's, clean
Sanitized,
and ready for
ready
the next class. Yeah. And so that's one of the things is, if you look at it, right, is it clean or is it, disgusting? Can you see footprints? To that note, right, some people are germaphobes. It's not necessarily that I'm a germaphobe. It's that I work with teenage boys, and because we do grappling, people's faces will be on the mats. I make people wear indoor training shoes that are specifically only to be worn on the mats, because stinky feet, right? You don't want your face getting ground into that. And also that way, kids are
for
stupid.
Sure. Yeah.
So some of them, if they come to class with athlete's foot, that's fine, because it's in their own shoe and they're not taking their shoes off. Mm-hmm. If they have athlete's foot, they don't know what it is, and they wander onto your mats, right, and they don't tell you anything because you're rolling barefoot, then, okay, yeah, now that's tracked over the entire mat, and people have been stepping on that. Their face might have gotten in it. It's just disgusting.
Yeah, good point.
Now, here's the thing, right? Some traditional martial arts train barefoot. That's fine. But also, vast majority of them take really good care and clean their training area. So that's not a problem. Right? There are some schools where I've seen people walk barefoot out of the car, across the asphalt in the parking lot, up the stairs, barefoot, and then walk right at, not even a wet wipe to the bottom of their foot. And I'm like, I am never being your buddy for training. No.
Right.
Unless the instructor tells me to be your but. One of my students said at another school that they had been to previously, they saw someone walk barefoot off of the mats into the bathroom, no footwear, no sandals, nothing, and then back out right onto the mats. And I'm like, that is disgusting.
Right, like you said, that's where your face is getting ground into a lot of times.
Would you go and smear your face on the bathroom floor? No. So that should not be allowed. Right? I make my kids go change their shoes so that they have their outside shoes on when they go to the bathroom, and then they change to the clean shoes.
I do like that. Again, that's what's cool about having these conversations. It's stuff I just would never think of, but is so important.
But so if that's something that's important to you,
wife,
for starters, grappling might then be a no. Might, right? Depends on how strict the, instructor is with, you want to go down the hall, get water, you have to put your flip-flops on as soon as you leave the mats, right? Or something. If they're like that, okay, yeah, maybe that's a great school for you, because then it's only pristine, clean, bare feet on the mats, right? Or a couple of instructors have basically a giant soaking bucket with disinfectant and some tea tree oil in it, and you can put your feet in that, and then they have a little rack of towels, and each person gets their own towel, wipes that off their feet, then they're on the mat.
Yeah.
So their feet are sterilized before they're on the mat, right? So it's if that's something that's important to you, look at something that either has, indoor shoes. And again, my indoor shoes aren't anything big. They're basically the thinnest strip of rubber that you can get, just to avoid toe breaks, like toes catching in mats, toes getting caught in, face geared or in the gi, and for hygiene. The other thing to look at is the instructor on time for classes, right? Is the instructor showing up 5 minutes late to class. I had that one time when I was at a jiu-jitsu gym. The instructor would routinely not be on time, and I would get the entire class started on warm-ups because class started at 11. It's 11:05. Everyone's here sitting on their butt. I'm like, okay, let the next time it happened, I started everyone at 11 on the dot. I was like, okay, we're going to do warm-ups because we do the same thing for warm-ups every day, which, okay, yeah, right? But we know what we're doing. We should at least start at 11 so that when they do show up, they can just start teaching instead. And they were not thrilled with that. And I'm like, I'm not thrilled that you're not on time.
Right.
Like, what?
I'm the same way. I cannot stand. That's saying my time's more valuable than yours. And that's a deal breaker for me.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Once I can understand, but consistently it's like, no.
Funny enough, same place, different instructor, would profusely apologize to everyone if he was not there 10 minutes before class started, right? And would, he would give everyone, hey, 1 minute warning, go pee, get your shoes off, put your phones away, make sure your uniforms are ready.
That's what I would like.
I mean, I'd have to do that with the kids. The adults don't really need it because I try to impress upon them, the self-discipline.
Lead by example.
Right. But the kids class, if you're ever there early, you'll hear me, hey, 2 minutes, go to the bathroom, because I make them switch their shoes and it's down the hall, right? I don't have an in-unit bathroom. Upside is I don't have to clean that. Right. Not my job, right? Yeah. But, because I make them change their shoes, I give them a 2-minute warning. I'm like, hey, go to the bathroom, get your last drink of water, say bye to mom or dad if they have to go pick up your brother or sister somewhere else. Like, look at the school and how the school is working when you're not involved in it, and see if it's something that you want to be, because, some schools are very much like, oh, well, I'm the instructor and you need to stroke my ego every 5 minutes or I'm going to make you do 100 burpees. And it's like, yeah, he might be really, really good. But there's probably also another guy that's almost just as good or maybe even better that's not like that nearby.
Yeah, right.
Go to that guy.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point because Lydia had said she'd gone to a couple looking around before she found you. Mm-hmm. And, that's a good... I actually made the comment in that podcast where it's like I looked in the phone book, I kind of aged myself, but they don't exist anymore, I guess. Maybe they do. I don't know. But... the fact is I just kind of thought you Google it and you show up and you hop in, but I think this is good for people to understand that it's like, because I can't imagine if you do get in one of those ones that isn't the right fit, it's going to ruin it for you. If it's not, if it's not jiving with your personality or, as far like all these little things you're saying, I know my wife, Gina, she's a freak about cleanliness. And so I know she wouldn't put my kids in one that's not clean. Right. I know that. Mm-hmm. She would say, listen, the guy's nice. He seems like he's, a black belt, whatever. But I can't handle they're coming home sick all the time or, sore throats. And it's like, that's a deal breaker. So, that's a very good point of something I never would have thought of. And again, that's why we have these conversations, is to hopefully help people not, get from point A to point B quicker. And get into a dojo or a gym that they're enjoying. So I love that. Anything else you want to add on that as far as that's I'm sure once you get to there, see if your personality meshes with the...
Yeah, well, so the other thing to keep in mind, right, is a lot of gyms, because this is a really big marketing thing that a lot of them are doing, is they'll give you, usually most of them, and if they don't, you ask... Right. But they'll usually give you a little bit of a free trial period where you can try out more than one class. Right. And see how you like it.
What do you mean by class? What is it?
So think about it like in schools when they actually separated your classes and you had a different teacher for each class.
Math, science. You teach different disciplines inside the same.
Kinda. So when I say class, right, right now I have a kids class, I have a beginner adults class, and I have an advanced class. And so for you, I would say, okay, we're going to do a one-on-one, just me and you, not during regular class hours, right? Or if you wanted to bring your wife and kids, then okay, yeah, 1-on-4 or however many, where it's just me and just you guys. There's no one else there. I get to interact with you. You have my direct attention. I'm going to teach you the just basic fundamentals. This is how we stand. This is how we throw a kick. This is how we block. And this is how we throw a strike, right? And it's just that. And then we're going to go over how I have a belt system. So we're going to go over how you get to earn your white belt. Yours is going to be different from your wife's. Both of yours is going to be different from either of your kids, right? So for example, you said your oldest is 13.
Yeah.
So what's something you just have to nag the living daylights out of them for? Every 13-year-old has one. What's something?
Oh man, yeah, probably cleaning his room.
Cleaning his room. Okay, so for him to earn his white belt, then if you were to bring him in, right, I would say, okay, without mom or dad asking, because you're a teenager now, you're a big boy, you're playing for keeps, because if you mess this up, the next like 5-10 years is as good as it gets. Pay attention.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Without mom or dad asking you, saying a single word, right? Whether it's every Monday, every Friday, every Saturday, or whatever, right? Whatever is a good benchmark for you guys, right? Or even if it's every day, right? Every day, 30 minutes after dinner, room inspection. If it's clean, without them having to say anything about it, right? Cool, you get credit on your white belt, right? Or if it's, I don't know if you guys go to church, but for example, if every Sunday you guys go to church and church is at the same time, okay, 30 minutes before we leave for church, room inspection. If it's clean, done, he gets credit, right? Or you can even tell him, hey, I'm going to look at your room Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if it's clean, then he gets credit for it. If it's not clean, no credit.
Yeah, I love that. Lydia was talking about that, and I think that is a, I love it. I think it's awesome. Did you have something you wanted to add, Ricky?
No, I was going to say that's kind of like where mine was a little bit different. I think he gave me the acts of service because I'm an adult and I didn't have to.
Ricky's on top of his stuff.
Your room's already clean?
Yeah. Well, and I don't have to answer it. I can keep it dirty as I want. If I wanted.
Right. But so for Ricky, I had Ricky do something for someone else's sake because, his garage is tidy, car's taken care of, guns are clean, right? So it's like, okay, he's on top of the self-discipline. Let's see if we can push him a little bit out of his comfort zone and use his already existing skills of self-discipline of, I need to be out of my comfort zone. I'm going to do this, this, and this for someone else.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it was nice because actually one of my acts of service, this little kid was walking out, like he was riding his bike down right in front of my house, and his chain came off. And then when his chain came off, he had a backpack. His backpack fell off, and it went all over the road, all of his stuff. These cars are just driving by, and I just happened to look outside. Every once in a while, I live on a busy street, so I look out my window, and I'm like, what the heck is that kid doing? I was like, at first I was like, is he staking my house out or something like that? But
I'm gonna fight him. But I know karate.
Well, I'm a white. I would only had one. You're not even a
white belt. Yeah. He would have whooped you.
Yeah, probably. So I did a little bit more looking into it, and I was like, oh crap, this kid needs some help. So I went out and actually helped him get all his stuff together, and he was kind of crying and frustrated. I don't know what it was. I didn't really ask about that, but I just wanted to make sure that he was in a good spot. I helped him get his chain back on, and then he was like, I could tell he was very grateful. He didn't say thank you or anything like that. He went on his way, and I wrote that down. I was like, perfect timing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I think that's what I think's cool about it is it makes me want to, get my boys into it more because I don't need them to go out there and just fight.
No.
I want them to be able to protect themselves and people around them. But the bigger aspect for me is like respect and systems and accountability and timing, being on time. There's so many, and making friends, that's one of the big ones that we don't really think about necessarily, but that are huge. I'm sure all of our lives are more valuable because of the friendships you've made through karate just in the short 6 months you've been here.
That could not be more true because I would not be friends with Teague.
Teague wouldn't be here.
He's my sensei, and I have that respect for him in class, and I call him sensei. But when we're not in class, like we hung out, he came and had dinner, him and his wife and daughter came and had dinner at my house on Sunday, and we're tight knit. We think the same. We have the same aggressiveness, and
my daughter now
it.
also thinks that tacos are called Rickies.
Yeah.
She's not even
How old
2.
is she? Okay.
She's not even 2.
Yeah.
No,
you have one child?
Yeah, she's 2 in January.
Okay,
so
I have a baby coming in January.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, I'm excited. 3 boys and finally got a baby.
Baby girl.
Or I mean a baby girl.
Yeah,
Baby girl.
okay.
So, yeah, I'm excited, man.
Nice. Yeah.
But
but
they're
just
fun.
meeting the new people, and it like literally from the Kip Sorensen podcast, we would not know Teague right now if it wasn't for that podcast inspiring me to do the things that I've been wanting to do for 20 years, but I put it on the back burner because I could do it later. I could put it, and then 20 years later, like, whoa, where'd that time go? And I just, on a whim, he was my second choice, but no
that's
hard feelings.
like
or
I said,
like that.
That's
literally,
good.
literally
Yeah.
try a bunch of places.
I think it's
before
better
you
that he was your
pick
second.
one.
That means you passed up one to get to him.
Well, they had moved up north and weren't doing it here
Yeah,
anymore. But I had
was
another
that
one.
Saint City.
I can't remember, but they were doing Krav Maga.
Yeah, the Krav Maga place. I actually got one of my other families. They were going there before they moved, and I met them at the county fair. I had a booth, and it was before I opened here. They were the only people that I didn't get to meet, and it was because they were on their way back from the family that came to me from one of their kids' birthday parties.
Oh, okay.
So that I was like, really small world.
Yeah.
really small world.
Well, and I had another one lined up that I was going to talk to, that I was going to go visit after I had came and met you, because I literally called you.
Yeah.
I call you, and then you're like, you answer, you say hello, and then you're like, this and that, because his daughter was like, he's like, I'm in the middle of feeding my kid. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I waited. You did your thing, came back on, and then I went and met you like an hour later. Like you were having class like an hour after that. I went down and started that day and had my first class. And then I had that other one that I was going to call afterwards, but I literally fell in love with the way that you handled it and the way you presented yourself and your mentality more than anything. I was like, he is a warrior that you would never even know. And I never even thought about calling that other place afterwards. Like, I was stuck. I was like, this is the place I'm going to be. It was clean. You held the way you talk to the kids. I could never do that. Like, I get frustrated with kids, especially when they're not mine. But like the way you handled that, like that whole day, I was like, wow, this is a guy that is very caring. He's very passionate about what he does. And not only that, he is a master of his craft.
I try. Yeah. I mean, the trick with kids is they're way smarter than they're able to let you know. So if you talk to them like they're 5 years older than they are, they actually will be more inclined to do what you're trying to get them to do. So even the I call it the Gremlins class, right? The mostly 6 and 7 year olds for the most part. I think I've got like 2 8-year-olds and a 5-year-old, mostly 6 and 7. I try to talk to them the way that people would normally talk to about a 10-year-old. they might not get all of it, but because I'm not going, oh, you're a retarded 5-year-old, huh? All right, well, this is how you do this. I'm like, you already know how to do this. We're going to make it harder now.
Right.
It's going to be challenging for you.
Right.
Right. And it's fine if you don't get it right the first time. But what matters is that you actually try.
Right.
If you don't try, I can't help you. And they
Right.
go, oh, so this is something I actually need to do.
Right.
Like,
Well, and you said
yes.
in our Zoom, you were talking about, I think McCall actually asked it. I'm not sure how it came up, but you actually teach, or maybe it was Ricky. Ricky talked about it.
Ricky, yeah.
Where you teach special needs.
I do.
right?
Yes, I do have one specific class that I put my special needs students in until I think that we can try putting them into the regular class. Because the regular group classes, right now, they're getting pretty full. I've got 11 kids in there pretty regularly, except for I think on Wednesdays. Wednesdays is the slow day for whatever reason.
Which is good. That's why you're here.
Which is good, yeah. So if you like,
Help me out.
yeah, no, like so if you want to book something, book it on a Wednesday.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Anyways,
right. Yeah, yeah.
or at least for now.
Yeah, right, right.
that
yeah,
might
yeah.
change later.
For sure.
But yeah,
So the special
so
needs,
the special needs class, I have them in their own class at the moment so that I can, and I keep it smaller. It's not 11 kids. I cap that class at 4 kids because I have basically 34 feet of usable space, well, wide at least. And so I can give each kid 8-foot bubble. Right, and if there's 4 of them, they're far enough away from the other kid where they get into their own zone and they can work without having someone being able to go, hey,
right.
hey,
right. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
yeah.
And so that's the upside of that. But then the other news, the other good part of that is they're still exposed to being around other kids and other people doing the same activity. And so it's a good bridge to eventually try to get them into the group classes that have more kids. And usually I will try and do it on a Wednesday because there's less kids there. And so it's less overwhelming. So instead of going from 4
to 11.
2, 3, 4 kids to 11 kids. They're going from 2, 3, or 4 kids to 5. Right. Cool. Plus 1.
Right.
Right. And so it's way less overwhelming. Because that's the other thing is you do want to wear down the hypersensitivity, but not every kid can brute force that.
Yeah. 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 Well, and I'm sure that's, every one of them is completely, and all kids completely unique. And so I'm sure you have to just, it requires a lot more patience, like Ricky said. And I think that takes a special individual to understand that. You made some comments. I was trying to think what you said where, you have to look at the individual and really go through what they're try to see what the way they're seeing it, right? You said something to where it's
perspective, because
you're putting on them the way you want them to feel or react, and it's like they don't react that way. You have to be patient to that.
Yeah, it's Chase, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So for him, the easiest way for me to teach him is going to either be to make something cooking related or firearms related, because it's something that's already in his wheelhouse that he's really, really good at. And so because that's what his brain is used to, if I can make an explanation towards that, it will click into his mind a lot better. The third amigo, right? Adam, right? If Ricky, Adam, and I are all in the same room, you call a supervisor. We are the champions of making each other's bad decisions worse.
Yeah.
But right, when it comes to training, so Adam's coming in from what I would call our sister system. So it's almost the same martial art. So he has basically an identical skill set. It's how we decided to mash everything together is a bit different, but the skill set is all there. And so one of the things that I keep going over with Adam is, okay, I know that Adam's preferred methodology during practice is we're going to break things. So if I explain something to Adam, I'm going to go, okay, we're going to position this body part here, but your feet need to be here, and they can't do this because then you don't get to break that. And as soon as I say that, his brain goes, oh, if I don't do that, I don't get to break it.
But I want to break it.
But I want to break it. So I'm going to do what he told me to do instead so that I get to break it. And so for Adam, that works like a charm, right? Whereas, with Ricky, I go, okay, position-wise, this will be here, and then I'll use his previous fist fight experience, and I'll go, and this is how we can change that.
Yeah.
Right? Or
use woodworking.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've used woodworking with him a couple of times, and admittly, I'm no master woodworker, but I can
understand the concepts.
I can fumble my way through it, and it's been beneficial.
Yeah.
I appreciate it because you're
showing interest in you.
Well, not just that, but you're associating that move or that skill with something that we already know.
Yeah.
Like something from previous.
Yeah, like you said, it clicks faster.
And the hardest thing too is like, all of my brawling, whatever that I'm not proud of, but was forced into.
History is history.
Yeah, I got a lot of bad habits. Like that, when we were talking about habits earlier, those bad habits is making it harder for me to learn the moves because there's so many different ways to punch. Yeah. Like, you're a thrust punch or
front to knuckle
and then back to knuckles. Like that is hard. Like when and then trying to do all three of them right after each other and then right again, like the opposite way. That is really hard for me because I was taught, you punch and you twist your wrist, so those bad habits are causing for me to be a little bit harder for me to learn the moves.
For sure.
But that's the other kicker. I say too much brain is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because I've seen students before when we get into sparring, and that's safety gear, and the way I have people spar is I tell them however hard you would pat like a lab or a German shepherd like on the ribs, right? However you would pat them is how hard you want to be making contact so that we can have high volume of practice with lower risk of injury. Because, if I say, okay, punch me at 10%, your 10% is going to be different from my 10%. It's going to be different from Ricky's 10%. Right? But if I tell you, pat a dog, like a medium large size dog.
Yeah, you understand that.
Right? It might not be exactly the same across all of us, but it's going to be a lot closer than if I say, give me 10%.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
So that's how I introduce my students to sparring at the beginning. For that, that's how we roll, and it's good.
It's working.
Yeah.
What time are we at?
It's
57 minutes.
57 minutes. Okay, so I just wanted to touch on a few other things that I have notes on here. Like you were saying, Ricky, the reason we're doing these podcasts and we're here in a room, donating our time, trying to have these conversations is to inspire people, right? Mm-hmm. Like you got inspired by Kip. There's going to be people who are going to listen to this, and I want them to understand, and me as well, the big thing we always talk about is there's sayers and there's doers in every aspect of life. I'm sure it would have been a lot easier for you to not start a business and just talk about it for the next 20 years like a lot of people do. I actually went home for lunch today, and my wife had heard this statistic that said 95% of people don't want to put in the effort for change. They want the change, but 95% of them won't put in the effort for change.
That's disturbing.
And I was like, wow, 95 out of 100, And you see that, we see that a lot, especially with what we're doing with M42. People want, they want to be more fit, or they want to learn self-defense, or they want to learn how to hunt, or they want to learn how to ride a mountain bike. but they don't get out and do. And so what I think is cool with what, you're doing is you're encouraging people. You're saying, come out. I've created this business. I risked my, family's, financial livelihood to start a business and have you come out. And I want to teach you something that's brought a lot of joy and benefit to your life. Mm-hmm. And so I just want to say that I appreciate what you're doing. I'm grateful you're in the Genesis. I'm excited to go on this journey together. I'm excited to be a doer, not a sayer. And I think this is going to inspire a lot of people to hopefully, go find that gym. And now you've got a lot of little nuggets in there of wisdom on how to do that and hopefully increase your chances of finding one. Mm-hmm. One thing I wanted to ask real quick, I know we're running out of time, but so you got the striking, you got the grappling. How do you know? And I know this, like you said, the physical makeup. Mm-hmm. But when it gets really down to it, how did you decide? Because you're doing, what's yours called? Kempo?
Yeah.
How did you decide to kind of plant your flag into Kempo with all the things? I know your background. Tell people your background real quick. You did it on the Zoom, but
I've been doing
martial arts for 20 years, you said?
Yeah, I've been doing Kempo for over 2 decades. I've been doing Muay Thai for about 14 years, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for about 15, and I also learned Boch from a Mongolian dude. I call it hillbilly judo. But it's basically judo, where instead of wearing the gi, you get this shoulder strap with 2 loops on the arms, and then you get a belt, like a heavy leather, think almost
like a weightlifting belt.
Like a weightlifting belt, yeah, right. And you get one of those, and so it's a lot of very similar techniques to judo, and it's just slightly different.
So you can have, and maybe this is a dumb question, but when you're you're a black belt in judo?
Not in judo. So I've got my 2nd degree black belt in Kempo, and I'm hopefully going for my Kempo. 3rd by the end of the year.
So there's levels of black.
Yes. So we go.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So everyone does their black belts a little differently.
Right.
So for jiu-jitsu, most of them, the whole belt is black, and at the very end there's a little red tab, and then they get their stripes in that red tab. In ours, we have our stripes embroidered into the belt. So my wife, who just got her 1st degree, her belt is black. It has the traditional script of the name of our martial art, and then on the other side it has 1 embroidered stripe because it's her 1st black belt. I have rank on a couple of my belts, but I actually got this idea from my instructor. My 1st black belt and the one that I wear the most often, I have not put any rank on them so that I can wear them forever, because there's no rank. As soon as I embroider it, if it doesn't match my rank, I can't wear it. But this way I can wear it in, and then whenever one of my kids gets their black belt, I can give them the worn-in belt.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
So
you can carry belts in lots of disciplines. They're all different.
Yes.
And so how would you, having all that background of all those martial art styles, I guess you call it.
Yeah.
How do you decide, which one to jump into?
So I really liked Kempo because it is well-rounded. So none of my students are ever going to be the best kickboxer that the world's ever seen. And they might not ever be, the greatest jiu-jitsu practitioner that the world's ever seen. But by golly, are they going to be good at both?
It does it does both. Okay. I like that.
So we have, like I mentioned, the progressional system. So we start with a little bit more of a traditional style because, for lack of a better description, the more traditional something is, usually the more idiot-proof it is. So if someone comes in, they're completely uncoordinated, right? Starting them off traditionally will be a lot easier to get their body to get them to learn how to move their body the way that they want it to move, instead of their body moving however the body wants to move. Then from there, we go, okay, we're going to start with kickboxing. Then we're going to add in more judo. Then we're going to add in more like ground-based grappling, like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, like Greco-Roman wrestling. Then from there, we're going to add in more stuff. So like on some of my higher belt tests, I'll throw a training knife onto the ground in the middle of their sparring match. And I'll be like, there's a knife, go for it, right? And now all of a sudden, instead of fighting each other, they're fighting to get to the knife first, and then one of them's got a knife and they're fighting with that, right? And so it's progression.
You're really genuinely just trying to make them understand it all.
Well-rounded.
I like that.
I want them well-rounded. Same reason that you send your kid to school and the school requires them to take English, math, history, science, fitness. You want your child to have a little bit of knowledge of everything so that then when they're done with schooling, right, and this is also why I'm still like very not thrilled that they've taken out the, for lack of a better description, the blue collar classes from school, right? Like wood shop doesn't exist a lot anymore. There's no, like in the regular curriculum, it's not during school hours. They have to go after school to a different school in the district.
Yeah, those are my funnest, like small motor repair.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, even like the automotive
like build
class,
some stuff and
right?
get your hands dirty.
Yeah, exactly. So those aren't in schools a lot anymore, and they're extracurricular activities that are not funded by the school anymore. And the problem is with that is you get some kids that they just, it clicks for them. And there was a kid I went to school with who could literally take apart an entire engine and put it back together within hours.
Yeah, I had
maybe.
one of those too.
Right, I might be exaggerating. It's not my cup of tea, right? I might have that number wrong,
right?
But that was his wheelhouse. And I mean, the kid went and got his motorcycle license as fast as he could, built his own motorcycle from the ground up, right? Was riding that to school, you know, every day because that was what he was good at. And then he went and started out earning people at mechanic shops in the county because the local ones were interesting to say the least, right? But he went in and started basically immediately being a top earner, ground floor worker,
which he wouldn't even have access to now. Not even available.
Well, yeah, and so it's
doesn't even exist.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, that was with how good he was at that. I genuinely hope that he's able to at least either open his own business or make an absolute boatload of money doing that because it clicked for him. He was good at it. It was like you could tell that was his jam. And so for me, like I liked that. I liked the well-roundedness. That's what clicked for me the most. That's why I planted, you know, my feet in the sand and said, you know, I'm going to be primarily Kempo, but also old and proper Kempo was one of the original mixed martial arts before people started unmixing and then remixing. Because we do have punches, kicks, elbows, knees, takedowns. We have groundwork in there where in some of the old books it says this lock that we have a diagram of standing because it's easier to draw and understand can also be applied from advantageous position on the ground, such as, and then it will list all of them. And it's like, you can't say that that's not ground fighting.
Right.
It's there.
Right.
So it's, you know, we had striking, we had grappling, we have joint locks, we have breaks, we have strangles, we have all of that.
Yeah.
And then you add in your knife fighting.
Yeah, and then I add in so the other thing that I also have my students do is I teach a couple of traditional weapons, and then I also teach like clubs, basically like a baton, like a police baton almost, even though they really have tonfas, but like just a straight stick, and then I also teach knife fighting. So yeah,
Ricky's talking to me about the knife. He actually did some moves on me a couple weeks ago, and it was scary. you know, it's one of those things where
It's not scary.
it's scary. It's scary when you have no idea what's happening.
No,
and
it's
how
scary when it's a real knife. He's got a training knife or like a pencil.
No, he didn't even have a knife, but I mean,
Yeah, I
just
was just
the
showing
movement.
him the moves.
Yeah.
Just the movements. It was just like, whoa.
Well, just he's thinking like just the thought of like that people
yeah,
are out
being-
there
yeah.
skilled in that you would never even know.
Yeah.
And we actually have a
No. We're going to get in trouble.
well,
We're gonna get in
all three of
trouble.
us carry a kukri knife.
Yeah.
That's a 10-inch knife that we put right in our back.
Yeah, I see one.
Oh, wait
He's
a
got
minute.
one
This is on
him.
video, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just take,
Yeah, he's got
take
one
the
right
whole
here.
clip.
Yeah.
Right. And so then,
We all have that exact same knife
Yeah.
that we carry.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So-
yeah, that's wild. It's scary.
although Adam turned his into like a prison shank
know.
looking thing, he went a little overkill with
Did you
the
make
tape.
them?
No.
They're,
They're like $30 or something
cool.
like
Yeah.
that.
Cool.
they're not the most expensive thing in the world. So I actually got, I ended up, so with my knife fighting, I took several courses from Doug Marqueta, and I got one of his like video courses as well. Dude is absolutely phenomenal, not just with knives but with sticks. And he was in, I'm gonna get this wrong, so I'm gonna go very vague here. He was in some countries, like armed services, and was top of the line with them. And he's really, really, really good at not just knife fighting, but at a lot of other things too. And so I learned the karambit from him, which is, it looks like a banana, right? And it's the one with the finger ring on it. And so I learned that. That was a lot of fun. And then I saw the kukri that the Gurkhas have. Mind you, it's a lot bigger. So the like a full-size kukri is probably like piece of paper size. This is, half that. But I like this because it's a lot easier to hide on the body, and you can, keep
Maneuver,
it.
yeah.
And the other upside is because it's not a full-size kukri, you don't have to prick your finger every time you bring it out. Because the Gurkhas, they're on top of it with their kukri. Every time that thing comes out, they have a tradition where if it doesn't draw blood, then the blade will fail you. And so, and they are hardcore guys. Like if you want to find someone that you could interview them for literal days on end, try to find a Gurkha.
Okay, do it, Ricky. Put it on your assignment. Find me one.
No, like they are some tough people, and they are resilient, and they're like, anytime they make headlines, it's for something more intense than any Florida Man headline that you've seen. Like, if you're familiar with the Florida Man headlines, dude, the Gukris make headlines for reasons beyond
That's
that.
crazy.
And so whenever they pull out one of their full-size ones, if it does, they're a little superstitious about it. So if it doesn't draw blood, they will literally prick their finger before putting it back to upkeep the tradition.
Wow.
One of my favorite stories about the Gurkhas, sorry, quick segue,
You're good.
I know
Yeah.
we're
No,
long
you're
time.
good. Yeah.
So this was during one of the wars where they had a bunch of them.
Is this a play? Like when you say that word, where are they?
So they're British contracted Nepalese elite fighters.
Okay.
So from like the remote areas in Nepal.
Okay.
Right. And so, they have altitude lungs. They have basically infinite endurance, and, they are hardy people because that is not an easy way of life out there.
Right.
And so when the British were trying to expand their control over Southeast Asia, they kept losing to the Nepalese fighters. Like, tell you what, instead of continuing to kill us, what if we pay you a ton of money and then you go kill people for us? And eventually, a bargain. Now that's a very loose realm of the, very loose recap, right?
Yeah.
But so essentially now they're under the British military operations, and one of my favorite stories from them is they were explained that they would be jumping out of a plane behind enemy lines and would be trying to capture a fortified position. Who wants to go? One dude raised his hand. Then it was explained to them what a parachute was and that they would be given parachutes, and every other hand went up. Like, dude had no idea what a parachute was, had never seen one before, didn't know that it was even a thing, but knew what a plane was and was like,
I'll jump out.
I can jump out of that.
Yeah. Let's go. Yeah.
Like,
That's their mentality.
that's their mentality.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Or they
love
are they are ferocious people with a very large heart, and they're in Nepal, they're looked on kind of like how some Vietnam vets are here. Most people are like, yes, thank you for your service. Some people are like, how dare you go and do it? And it's like,
Right.
okay, well,
Yeah.
shut up.
Right.
But,
Right.
right. And
Yeah.
so they're right. They're looked at kind of the same way of, how dare you go and, get contracted by the people that were, trying to kill our ancestors. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, but that's most of human history.
Right.
Like, you can't really throw a dart at a map anywhere except for maybe Antarctica, where people have not been trying to kill other people. So
For forever. Yeah. Yeah. There's that book, Guns, Germs, and Steel, yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. That talks about a lot about that. Yeah. Cool, man.
So,
Well, dude, I love it. Like I said, I am excited for this. I appreciate you being in the Genesis as a mentor. I'm excited to learn from you. I know Ricky, he never shuts up about you. And so it's become
hopefully just good things.
It has been, man. It has been. I know
I wouldn't dare talk crap.
Yeah.
about you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, it's very, I'm just excited to go on this and learn more. And so I appreciate you coming in. I know it's,
thanks for having me.
I know it's hard to take the time and stuff. So I appreciate you coming in and doing it.
Well, conveniently, it's my daughter's nap right now.
Well, we're good. We're good.
How can we get a hold of you?
Oh, yeah. So back when, before the college changed its name, Dixie was big in St. George. So my website is dixiemartialarts.com. And then phone number is probably honestly the best. I try to be good about email, but I'm still figuring that out. But 435-233-4113. Text or call, and we'll set up an appointment. I'm local in St. George. I'm a few streets up from the original temple, not the new tan one, but
you're right in downtown.
the old white one.
Downtown, right in the
Yeah.
same parking lot is the level parking garages.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And Birdie's
Birdie's
golf
Golf Lounge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Birdie's Golf Lounge, and then the Electric Theater is across the street. I'm right there.
And it's Achieve Martial Arts.
Yeah, Achieve Martial Arts. Yeah.
Cool, man.
And
Well,
then,
yeah.
Actually, quick note, Martial, Martial.
Mm-hmm.
Did I get dyslexic there?
No, that's how I have it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Only because, and the only reason I asked this was, because I've had a couple people type in Marshall like the name.
Oh, really?
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. So for anyone that has literally no martial arts experience, it's TIAL, not SH.
That's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Yeah. Okay, man. Well, appreciate you coming in. Excited for what we're going to do together. And all right, so there you have it. My conversation with Teague Vanderbeek. Pretty excited about this. He is obviously knows what he's talking about. I didn't realize he had so many disciplines under his belt, pun intended. He is obviously a very, very skilled and just a good dude. So that was a cool conversation. Again, if you want to reach out and join his school, it is called Achieve Martial Arts. And it's here in St. George, Utah. You can listen back to the phone number if you want to give him a call. Ricky, who is my sound and video producer, is a part of his class. And as you heard, Lydia is also in his class. So just some great information in there, something for me to think about. I would like to get my boys into these things, and my daughter coming soon in January to be able to. I like how he said, this needs to be a non-negotiable, like swimming, like brushing your teeth. You need to know how to defend yourself. It's not going to hurt. Even just 1 or 2 years, basic knowledge in case you get into a bad situation. So hopefully you took some insight from that. I know I did. If you want to hear more from Teague, you can join our Genesis. It is free for December. We're going to start charging in January, $97 a month. And right now we have, I think, 5 mentors in there teaching everything from finances, spiritual and mental health, self-defense, outdoor cooking, not mountain biking, firearms. What else we got, Ricky? Motorcycles. Yeah. I mean, we just got a lot of good things going on in there. So if you want to learn about any of those things from certified mentors, certified coaches like Teague, who owns his own dojo and has been doing this for 20 years of his life, you can have access to him and all of these others for just $97 a month starting in January. And I guarantee that if you come in and you learn from these people and you pay attention and you engage and you take what they are teaching you, it will change your life. That is my guarantee. So hopefully we'll see you in there. Hopefully you have a great weekend. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate your support. And thanks for Teague, Sensei Teague, for coming in today and spending his time trying to help all of us be more safe. Hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you on the next one.